Anatomy and physiology are typically studied together because physiology, which is the function, always relates to the structure, which is anatomy. There are multiple subdivisions of both anatomy and physiology. There's gross anatomy, which is any visible organ to our naked eye, such as the heart, liver, kidneys, and within subdivisions of gross anatomy lies regional anatomy, which is any bone, tissues, blood vessels, nerves in a particular region of the body. Then we have systemic anatomy, which is the study of systems within the body. And then we have surface anatomy, which is the internal structures that we can see through our skin, such as you can tell your bicep is a bicep based off where it's at and how it feels. We then have microscopic anatomy, which is the study of structures that are not visible to the naked eye. And within the subdivision of that is histology, which is the study of tissues, and cytology, which is the study of cells. Then we have developmental anatomy, which is the study of structures throughout our lifetime. And within that goes a branch of embryology, which is the study of how our structures change before birth. And then there are different subdivisions of physiology. Physiology has neurophysiology, which is the study of our nervous system. We have renal physiology, which is the study of our kidney function and urine production. And then we have cardiovascular physiology, which is the study of our heart and our blood vessels. We are composed of atoms, and a bunch of atoms together start to form molecules. And those molecules start to form organelles, which is the basic structure of cells. And a bunch of cells together start to make tissues. And at least 2 tissues, but typically 4, make up an organ. And those organs start to make systems. An organ system is when organs that have a particular function start working together for the same purpose. We have 4 different types of tissues in our body. We have epithelial tissues, which covers our body surface and our cavities. We then have connective tissues, which protects our body's organs. We then have muscle tissues, which provides movement. And then we have nervous tissue, which provides electrical communications inside of us. Humans are composed of 11 organ systems. We have the integumentary system, which provides an external body covering such as skin, hair, or nails to protect deeper tissues from injury. It synthesizes vitamin D and houses our cutaneous receptors, which is pain or pressure, and our sweat and oil glands. We then have the skeletal system, which protects and supports our body's organs and gives us the framework to move our muscles. Blood cells are formed in the bones, and bones store the mineral. We then have the muscular system, which gives us the manipulation for our environment, our locomotion, and our facial expressions. It also supports our posture, and it produces heat. Onto the nervous system, which responds to any internal or external change by activating the appropriate gland or muscle. Then to the endocrine system, which is composed of the 7 glands that run through the body that regulate growth, reproduction, and our metabolism. Then the cardiovascular system is composed of blood vessels and the heart. The blood vessels contain blood, which carry oxygen, carbon dioxide, waste, and nutrients, and the heart pumps blood. The lymphatic system picks up fluid that leaks from our blood vessels and returns it back to blood. It also houses our lymphocytes, which are white blood cells, which is involved in immunity. Our respiratory system is constantly circulating our blood with oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. This exchange occurs in the walls of the air sacs of the lungs. Then the digestive system breaks down food into absorbable units to enter the blood and gets absorbed through our body cells. The urinary system eliminates nitrogenous waste from our body, and it regulates water, electrolytes, and maintains balance of the acid base in the blood. And then the male and female reproductive systems' main function is to produce offspring. The testes produce sperm, and the ovaries produce eggs. And then the mammary glands within the breast produce milk to nourish children. Functional characteristics necessary to maintain life in humans are movement, which is provided by the muscular system. We then have responsiveness, which allows us to detect changes and act on them voluntarily. As when you put your hand on the stove, you have an automatic reflex to jerk back. This is a product of our nervous system. We then have a digestion, which breaks down foods into simple molecules so that it can be easily absorbed into our blood. We then have metabolism, which breaks down substances into simpler building blocks. We then have excretion, which is the process of waste. We then have reproduction, which main function is to provide a fetus. And then we have growth, which is the increasing size of any body part or organism. Tricks to remember anatomy directional terms. With medial, the root word is medi, and medi means middle in medical terminology. So for example, my nose is going to be medial to my ears because it's towards the middle. Now with lateral, I want you to think of your lats, the muscles on the side. So for example, my ears are going to be lateral to my nose because it's towards the side. Proximal, the root word is proxy, which means closer to. What we're referring to is the trunk of the body. So I want you to imagine your body without your head, your limbs, or your legs, and it just being this portion. That is the trunk. So with proximal, for example, my elbow is closer to my trunk than my hand is. So my elbow is going to be proximal to my hand. Distal, this is going to be further down from the trunk, D and down. So for example, my hand is further down to my trunk than my elbow is. So my hand is going to be distal to my elbow. Ventral, I look at the root word ventre, which means belly, and that's going to be located on the front of your body, also known as anterior. And with dorsal, I think of dorsal fin, which is on the back of a shark, also known as posterior. So for example, my heart is going to be ventral to my spine because it's in front of, and my spine is going to be dorsal to my heart because it's in the back of. Superior, I just think of feeling superior to somebody, which means you feel above them. So my nose is going to be superior to my mouth because it's above it. With inferior, just think the opposite. You feel below somebody. So my mouth is going to be inferior to my nose because it's below it. With superficial, I want you to think super close to the surface. So our skin is going to be the most superficial part because it's the closest to the surface. And with deep, I just literally want you to think deeper than. So my lungs are going to be deep to my skin because it's further away from the surface. Anatomical position is a reference posture used by healthcare professionals. This is where you put your arms down by your side, palms facing forward and your thumbs pointed out, your feet parallel to each other and facing forward, your neck and your back are straight. When telling the left and right side in anatomical position is going to be from the subject's perspective, not the viewer's perspective. So it may look like it's on your right side, but it's actually anatomically left. An easy way to remember that is always pretend that you are the person in the picture. Anatomical position is a reference posture used by healthcare professionals. This is where you put your arms down by your side, palms facing forward and your thumbs pointed out, your feet parallel to each other and facing forward, your neck and your back are straight. When telling the left and right side in anatomical position is going to be from the subject's perspective, not the viewer's perspective. So it may look like it's on your right side, but it's actually anatomically left. An easy way to remember that is always pretend that you are the person in the picture. 9 abdominopelvic regions. On the top row in the middle is the epigastric. This means above the stomach, but it still contains the stomach. In the left hypochondriac region, hypochondriac meaning below the ribs, this is going to have the diaphragm and the spleen. In the right hypochondriac region, this is going to have the liver and the gallbladder. Onto the second row in the middle is the umbilicus. This has the small intestine and transverse colon of large intestine. In the left lumbar region, we're going to have the descending colon of large intestine, and in the right lumbar region, we're going to have the ascending colon of large intestine. In the third row in the middle is going to be the hypogastric region, which means below the stomach. This is going to contain the urinary bladder. In the left iliac region, this is going to contain the colon, and in the right iliac region, that is going to contain the appendix. Is always pretend that you are the person in the picture. What covers our body's surface? It's going to be skin. That's called epithelial tissue. Epi in medical terminology means upon, so this is going to be tissue that sits upon. What is going to connect our tissues together? That's going to be connective tissue. Think bones, cartilage, fat. Now, what is going to cause movement in our body? That's going to be muscle tissue. Put the M and M together. We have skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. Now, what is going to notify our body about information? That's going to be the nervous tissue. Put the N and N together. That's involving nerves and action potentials. Imagine you step outside and it's freezing. What's going to be the stimulus? It's going to be that it's cold. So your receptors are going to detect that it's cold and it's going to send that information up to your brain, also known as the control center. That's an afferent pathway from receptors to the control center arriving to. Then your brain is going to differentiate what your temperature is right now to what it normally is. So say you're at 94.7, but your core temperature is 98.6. It's going to sense it's different and then send that signal over to your glands, and that's going to be an efferent pathway exiting from the control center to your body. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to shiver, and that's going to bring you up back to 98.6. And that's negative feedback reversing the stimulus to bring you back to homeostasis. Negative feedback versus positive feedback in the simplest way. With negative feedback, look at negative. This is going to be bringing down or reversing the stimulus to bring you back to internal stability. For example, if you get really hot, right, you are going to sweat so that you can cool yourself down to bring you back to your normal temperature base. So negative, decreasing or reversing. With positive feedback, you're looking at positive and you are enhancing a stimulus, so you're going up to be able to speed up the process to bring you back to that internal stability. An example would be if you are giving birth to a child, your brain is going to release the hormone oxytocin so that the woman has more contractions so that they can give birth at a faster rate. So positive is going up, enhancing, and negative is going down or reversing. 11 organ systems. Integumentary system covers the external body as well as protects deeper tissues from damage. Skeletal system provides the muscle, the framework to move. Muscular system gives us the manipulation of locomotion, facial expressions, and helps our posture. Nervous system responds to internal and external change by activating the appropriate gland. Endocrine system is involved with hormones involving growth, reproduction, and nutrients. And the cardiovascular system has blood vessels that transport blood, as well as the heart pumps blood. Lymphatic system picks up fluid leaked from blood vessels and returns it, and is involved with immunity. Respiratory system constantly supplies blood with oxygen and removes carbon dioxide. Digestive system breaks down food into absorbable units and eliminates indigestible foods. Urinary system removes nitrogenous waste, regulates water, electrolytes, and acid-base balance. And the reproductive system for males produces sperm and the male sex hormone, and for females, the ovaries and the female sex hormone. We consist of two major body cavities. We have the dorsal cavity, which means the back of. This protects our nervous system organs. This houses the cranial cavity, which houses the brain, and the spinal cavity, which protects the spine. We then have the ventral cavity, which means in front of, and this houses many of our internal organs. This has the thoracic cavity, which has the heart and the lungs, and is surrounded by the ribs and the chest. This contains the pleural cavities, which envelops the lungs, and the mediastinum, which surrounds the thoracic organs, such as the esophagus and the trachea, and the pericardial, which envelops the heart. Separating the thoracic cavity and the abdominopelvic cavity is the diaphragm. In the abdominopelvic cavity, we have the umbilicus and all the digestive organs. What protects and lines the walls of the ventral cavity is the serous membrane. There's parietal serosa, which lines the walls on the outside, and visceral serosa, which protects the organs on the inside. There's parietal pericardium, which lines that pericardiole, which envelops the heart. There's parietal pleura, which lines the walls of the thoracic cavity, and visceral pleura, which covers those lungs. We then have parietal peritoneum, which lines the walls of the abdominopelvic cavity, and visceral peritoneum, which covers many of the internal organs. There are 9 regions of the abdominopelvic cavity. We have the umbilical region, which contains the umbilicus. Epigastric, epi means up, so right above the umbilical region. Lateral to that, on the side of, we have the hypochondriac regions. Inferior to the umbilical, we have the hypogastric, which means below, and lateral to the hypogastric is the iliac regions to the left and right, and inferior to all of that is the pubic region. Body planes the simple way. Frontal, aka coronal plane, is the front and the back. Put the front and frontal together. Sagittal plane is a split in half, dividing left and right. I put the S with split and sagittal together. Mid-sagittal is a split down the middle, mid and mid. And parasagittal is a split near the middle. Para means near. Transverse plane, aka horizontal plane, I think of a tree trunk slice, putting the T's together, and you are separating the top from the bottom. Oblique, I rhyme that with unique because it is unique as it's the only one with a diagonal slant. Visceral and parietal are layers of serous membrane. Visceral membrane is going to cover the organ itself. Visceral stems from the Latin root word viscera, which means internal organs, and the ending al in medical terminology means pertaining to. So visceral is going to mean pertaining to the internal organs. An example would be the visceral pleura that covers the lungs in the thoracic cavity, which is a space that holds these organs, which needs to be protected too. That will be protected by the parietal membrane. How I remember that is I link parietal lines the perimeter and put the P's together. An example would be the parietal pleura, which lines the thoracic cavity.